Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. Mind your business. Only on Money FM 89.3.
Mind your business it is with Imad Akhtar and Audrey Seek. Now, when we think of cyber threats, most of us imagine someone in a hoodie tapping away in a dark room. But in reality, today's cyber criminals are more like well-oiled businesses. They are fast, they are smart, and they're pretty organized.
Yes, and frightening it is. Just take this for example. According to CrowdStrike's 2025 Global Threat Report, the fastest e-crime breakout time was just 51 seconds. That means defenders have less than a minute to detect and respond before things spiral. And China-linked cyber activity, that's gone up by a staggering 150%. And here's where it hits close to home. In 2024, more than 21 million cyber attacks were traced back to compromised servers right here in Singapore. That made us the top threat source in Southeast Asia and 8th globally.
So in a world where cyber criminals are no longer just attacking systems, but people like you and me, what can organizations do to stay ahead of the curve? Joining us to unpack this is someone right at the heart of that global cybersecurity conversation. He is the Field Chief Technology Officer worldwide at CrowdStrike, Fabio Fratucello. How's my Italian, sir?
That's fantastic. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us, Fabio. So let's dive straight into this 2025 Global Threat Report you guys put out. It's packed with so many insights, from lightning-fast breakout times to a surge in China-linked cyber activity. What were the standout findings for you personally?
Yeah, it's been an interesting year. We called the previous year the year of enterprising adversary. As we talked about, those threat groups are now operating like proper business. They are well-funded, they have KPIs, they have targets, and they're going globally. We're tracking today over 250 different adversaries, and we have 26 new adversaries discovered just last year. When we think of the headlines, speed is, of course, one of them. 51-second breakout time. The breakout time is the time it takes for an adversary to move laterally. So they compromise first a host, and then they move to a secondary target within the compromised organization. Think about the time, just the time it takes to go have a tea or a coffee, and this sophisticated adversary can achieve those steps. And some of the other highlights are really about malware no longer being the primary source used for attacking. Sophisticated adversaries, they are now malware-free, and they're trying to leverage identities. Think of username and password to compromise organizations. And the reason is when they have a compromised identity, they actually don't have to break in. They just need to log in, and it's easier for them.
Pretty scary stuff. I suppose a lot of these criminals are leveraging AI in some of these social engineering attacks. So how are you seeing attacks using such technologies redefining the e-crime ecosystem?
You are absolutely spot on. What we notice is a 400% increase in voice phishing. We call it phishing. So that's where an adversary will use AI to enhance their chance to effectively social engineer a person. They're using emails, they're using phone calls. Sometimes they are pretending to be a help desk, calling organization, try to mimicking the legitimate operations and trying to pretend to solve a problem. In reality, what they're trying to do is to acquire a piece of information that can help them moving forward with their next steps.
Yeah, so we talked about voice phishing, and I know that we talked about previous cases where people would use AI to maybe mimic the victim's children or something, and that would really force them into action, maybe transfer money. So we're seeing major jumps in sophistication when it comes to voice phishing. What else makes it so prominent these days? Why is it so effective?
Well, it is so effective because effectively it is lowering the entry level from the adversary. AI technology these days is easy accessible to all of us. We use it on a regular basis for our home personal devices. The adversary can use it to improve, for example, click-through rate. When they write an email, it's way easier to write using AIs and having the right grammar, the right tone, being able to push and convey the right urgency into the message. And that had actually been, we have a way which is called click-through rate to effectively assess how those phishing emails are effectively. And we noticed that those emails crafted through the use of AI are more effective than the one crafted by human.
Yeah, a lot of data has come out of this report, and I want to take some actionable insights from it, especially for Singapore businesses. So in terms of cyber insurance, in terms of budgeting for cybersecurity, improving training and compliance, basically improving your defensive game, what are some insights that Singapore businesses can glean on?
To me, what is this stand out is that adversaries are modernizing their way of attacking. And so defenders should be doing the same. We're talking about those adversaries now being able to attack every domains of an organization. They're attacking the endpoint, they're attacking cloud environment, they're attacking the identities. Defenders should be able to embrace modern technology that are in a position to provide the right level of visibility across all of different domains. An easy way to understand this is really the puzzle example, right? When you try to put a puzzle together and you have only one piece, it might be difficult or impossible to understand what the true picture of what you're trying to compose is. But when you have multiple pieces of the puzzles together, or if you have them all, the picture is clear. And that's effectively what we need to do in terms of having modern defenses that are able to have visibility on all the different part of the organization, infrastructure, cloud identity, and bring the information together in a harmonized way.
Yeah, so our defense systems needs to be evolving just as fast as the threats are. And of course, if they're using AI, we need to be using AI as well. How is CrowdStrike shaping its strategies when it comes to, proactively identifying and stopping these attacks?
Yeah, absolutely. And AI has been part of the vision, the strategy, and the CrowdStrike platform since day one. For us, we continue to see AI as a complementary avenue to the human. We continue to see the human and the machine working together to provide the right outcomes that the defenders need. And AI is a fantastic way to streamline operation, to really being able to bring the time down when we're thinking about detection and response activities. A machine is most of the time faster than a human in performing those tasks. So we want to harness the human intelligence and unpredictability, but at the same time we want to harness the benefit of using machine and modern technologies like AI.
Yeah, Fabio, just to make what you've said more relatable to our listeners, is there a specific case study that you can share with us involving CrowdStrike and a business under attack and the changes that business made to defend against future such attacks?
Yeah, absolutely. When we think of adversary, there's an adversary that is active worldwide, including here in Singapore, which we call Curly Spider, which is e-crime actor. So they are a financially motivated threat group.
Curly Spider gives me the creeps already.
I know.
And what they do is very similar to what we discussed already. So they start from a social engineering endpoint. Very often they pretend to be a help desk and try to force the user to install remote management tool, which are tools that they can use then to perform activity on the endpoint. When these tools are installed, they now have the ability to jump on a computer and then pivot around the organization and start really causing damage. We can talk about data theft. We can talk about ransomware. There's many avenues from there. And so when we flip this from a defensive standpoint, each step, it's actually an opportunity from a defender to identify the attack and start doing detection and response at that point. So if we think of social engineering, how are those identities being used or abused? And are we in a position to use a product that is able to identify the signal from the noise? Are we able to detect that this identity is being used by a bad person instead of by legitimate users.
Yeah.
Right? When they store the tools, there's another opportunity over there to identify malicious activities. And so what we're looking at doing is breaking down the attack sequence at each step, because that gives an opportunity to jump in and defend.
Sure.
All right, so we know budgets are always a concern, of course, especially for SMEs. How should companies think about allocating their IT spend? What's a reasonable percentage, to dedicate to cyber defense?
The best way for me to answer this is really think about the organization threat profile, meaning what the organization could mean to an adversary, and effectively start thinking from a risk management perspective. If you don't have the appropriate capabilities in place, the technology, but also the people, the process, the relevant infrastructure to ensure the organization can run safely and secure, what's the cost of that, right? And this is how I see most of the security leaders being able to have meaningful conversation with the CEO, the non-executive director, and really translating from operational issues to risk and business conversation to the board, and really able to explain what they need to do to ensure the company operate in a safely manner. And that number is likely to change from organization, different size, different industry.
Yeah, fair point. Touched on this earlier briefly, but we can get into the details again. In terms of improving training and compliance, because a lot of attackers will target junior employees, for example, who aren't very well versed with defensive tactics when it comes to shielding against such attacks. Could potentially gamifying compliance training programs make it more user-friendly and enjoyable rather than just a chore that you tick through and want to get over with very quickly?
Absolutely. I think every time you have an opportunity to make an activity more pleasant and compelling, and we know gamifying is a successful strategy for a number of years now, that's absolutely an avenue to go. The other avenue could be, for example, leveraging a technology that allows you to learn on the job as you're using it. Like again, when we go back to the world of AI, there's a number of benefits available to us. For example, you may not be able to write a query using the right language, but you can write it in plain English, and the technology may be able to translate that for you. And that's a way to speed up your operations, but you can also learn on the job without having to pay for training.
Yeah, so looking ahead, what's your outlook for the cybersecurity landscape as a whole? What should organizations, small or big, be preparing for as these threats continue to evolve every day?
Our recommendation is really to move towards solutions that are comprehensive, and they're going to give defenders the right level of visibility they need to be able to respond to modern threats. We know adversaries are no longer using malware. We know there's a lot of focus on social engineering, identities. There's a lot of focus from the adversary of targeting cloud environment. And so what the bad guys are trying to do, they're trying to overwhelm the defender. They're attacking from everywhere. And under those conditions, it might be difficult to understand the signal from the noise. It might be difficult to be able to distinguish legitimate activities versus nefarious activities. And so that's why we urge all organizations in the world, small, large, in Singapore particularly, adopting platform capabilities that are going to provide this level of visibility, that are going to be able to harmonize all the telemetry, all the signals together, because that's when you have the best chance to fight and win against the adversary.
Let's end this conversation off talking about your leadership philosophy. You are the field CTO of a big cybersecurity company, big responsibility. People come to you for solutions. So what's your approach to people management? And secondly, what do businesses need to understand about scaling a business to that of CrowdStrike's level?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to people management, our function, field CTO, it's really about spending time in the field and working with customers, with partners, and making sure they have the appropriate capabilities to be able to be resilient to modern adversaries. And, I try to lead by example. That's why I'm here today. We actually have a fantastic event tomorrow, which is CrowdTour Singapore, where we're expecting to meeting with customers, ideas and talking about problems and solution at the same time.
And where's that taking place?
It will be at Grand Hyatt tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. Well, we really appreciate your time this morning. We know that you're a very busy guy, but this was such an important chat for us about the growing sophistication of cyber threats and, what businesses, especially those here in Singapore, can do to stay one step ahead. So we really appreciate your time, Fabio. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. He is the field CTO worldwide at CrowdStrike, Fabio Fratucello. Stay with Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.